Hey everybody, hope you all have been doing well. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video on my channel, and so thank you for those that have messaged me, ask how I'm doing. I'm doing very, very good. In this video, I'm going to be giving a small little life update along with a market update. So I was actually in Korea for about 3 weeks, so that's one of the reasons why I haven't been uploading for a while. It was a great time of rest just to kind of get away. It's been over 10 years since I've been, so seeing a lot of the changes was really nice, but I'm going to be a father in about less than 2 months. So that's really exciting. I have a baby boy coming along the way. So one of the reasons why we went to Korea was for something called a baby moon, something I heard about this year. It's kind of when the mom and the dad spend that one last, vacation or time away together before another human enters into their lives. So, that makes sense, right? Because once another human enters our lives, it's no longer going to be just us two. There's always going to be another person to factor in. So I've never been gone for that long ever since I've graduated high school. So after I came back, had a lot to catch up on, but I was still active in my Discord group, which you can access through the Patreon link down below. In that, I was still, sharing my trades, going over my investing strategy, how I'm navigating through the markets. Anytime I sell, anytime I buy, I share those updates. But sometime in July, I got exposed to this new sector of the market, and it's something that I can't really share too much yet because there's a reason why, and I'll one day share everything with you all. But I'm in the process of starting another business. It's been a month since I've been planning, accumulating, and strategizing. I wish I could share it. It'd be a lot easier. But yeah, basically I'm starting another business on the side. Although I do crypto and YouTube full time, I always do recommend people to start an extra side hustle, side business, anything that they can to bring in extra cash flow, even if it takes a long time or even if it's a little amount, especially if they want to invest regularly or more. Right now we are in a bear market, so noise is very, very loud. But if you block them all out, you can just dollar cost average in regularly, especially if you're a long-term investor, and just do life, like live out your regular life, dollar cost average in, and then one day the market will reverse and you'll be glad that you dollar cost averaged in. From a time perspective, when you invest in like a month-to-month window, it can be very stressful. But if you're looking out like 2, 3, 4 years out, most people should be okay. Historically, I can't guarantee anything because, again, I'm not a financial advisor. Anything that I share in this video is not financial advice. But based on historical data, we do experience ebbs and flows where the market dips and goes back up and dips and goes back up. And right now is one of those moments where the market is dipping. And in the later half of this video, I'm going to share why I think that the market will probably reverse from here on out. So starting that side business requires a lot of consuming. So I've been just doing a lot of research, consuming, and just setting up a side. It's actually located somewhere else aside from this studio. But overall, that's not going to be taking time away from what I'm doing here. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is going to be FTX, right? From the month that I've been gone from YouTube, the crypto space has been, let's just say, insane. It's crazy. Like, this is probably the largest, I don't want to call it a scam, but let's call it a scam for now, that has ever happened in crypto history, especially because so much retail has entered the space and a lot of people thought FTX was legit, including myself. They were a sponsor of this channel. I also promoted them. And at that time, when you look at what was going on, FTX seemed legit. Like, everyone thought, how could FTX come down? If I was the only person creating content saying FTX is a scam, they're going to go out of business, everyone would probably call me crazy. And it's easy to say, like, if I knew that they were like this, and I would have never promoted them. Of course, it's really easy to say that. So, if anyone has ever used my link to sign up for FTX, I don't know if sorry is going to be enough, because it's not. If you had funds in there, I hope that you were able to pull it out. For me, personally, for myself, thankfully, I didn't have a ton of funds within FTX. What I always share in this channel is have your funds spread out, especially within the Discord group and then my Patreon group. I try to let them know, like, have your funds spread out. Never have all your funds on one exchange. If you're trading, always use a smaller amount. I always say like 10% within 10%. And so I try to encourage that. And if you're able to store your crypto on a cold storage or a DeFi wallet where you have access to your own keys, do that if you can. So I'm personally okay, but I'm not okay with what happened with a lot of people. when it comes to investing and having your money on centralized exchanges, it's a lot of people's hard-earned money, right? And I think, it sucks being in this space, knowing that there's a ton of negative press around this. And what happened in the past year of crypto, no, not just even the past year, let's say the past like 6 months in crypto has really pushed back the entire crypto space 2, 3, 4 years back. And so it's going to take so much more time to recover. And I'm for crypto regulation. I have been for a while. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of crypto being regulated and the government coming in and stepping in, but protection is necessary. Like, I love crypto and I love what it stands for and what it can offer, but things need to be regulated. Things need to be checked. I think I'm kind of rambling on at this point, but my point is I hope that this was a huge lesson for all of us moving forward. I hope that most of you were able to take out some funds, or hopefully all your funds were not on one exchange. Just to be very clear, I've also pulled out all my funds from crypto.com as of right now. Had to sell CRO at a loss, but I'm okay with that. At this stage of the market, everyone should be thinking for themselves. No matter how many times someone says, trust me, we have everything figured out, I think it's safe to just not trust them and think for your best interest. And that's the risk in the entire crypto space. It's still the Wild West. Things are not fully regulated. So you have to understand the risk that you are taking when you are entering into this space. I still use Pionex. I still use BitGet. I still use KuCoin. This is not a sponsored video. I just still personally use them. They are much smaller exchanges. And the way that they bring in revenue is through the fees on their exchanges, as exchanges should be, right? So FTX, their revenue should have come from the trading fees, but unfortunately they were mismanaging their funds. Crypto.com, the founder has also stated that their business model is based on fees, and I could see how that is. But if you have funds on exchanges, just make sure that they're spread out. Make sure that they're not all on one exchange. That way, when one goes down, at least you can pull out the other ones to another wallet of your choice. I'm really hoping that crypto.com doesn't go down. I think if crypto.com goes down, that's going to be a very huge issue for the entire crypto space. So I'm rooting for crypto.com. I'm really hoping that nothing happens with them. Two other exchanges that I use, that I'm okay with are also Coinbase and Binance US. So those are other exchanges that I personally use still. Again, this is not a sponsored video, right? This is just me sharing for those that might be curious on what I'm using right now. And I do have most of my crypto stored away on cold storage, specifically a Ledger Nano X. I do have two. One I carry around with me all the time, and one I store away only where I know where it is. Also, if you have USDT, I recommend holding USDC. So personally for myself, majority of my stablecoin is in USDC at the time of making this video. Now, just to give an update of what to expect from this channel moving forward, the simplest way that I can explain it is I'm going to be creating content freely. I know that I was able to before, but let me explain a little bit more. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I do have a Patreon group, which is a private paid group. Now, at the beginning, it was taking off. I was creating content and we're building up momentum. But there was a point where I was starting to have conflict between the content I was creating on my channel and for my Patreon group, which is a paid group. Obviously, I shouldn't be giving out what people are paying out for freely out into the public. And so that's why I was struggling. In other words, it was a lot easier for me to create content before the Patreon group. After the Patreon group came along, it was much harder, but it was also very rewarding, right? There were things that I was able to share and talk about on the Patreon group that I normally wouldn't talk about on my YouTube channel. So for those that have ever been a part of the Patreon group, even if you didn't like it, even if you just checked it out and left, thank you for your support and for your interest. And for those of you that are still there, thank you guys. I don't even know what to say. I'm really grateful. I wish there was something that, you don't know how much that means to me, that some of you are still there to support. I know most of you want the value that comes out of the Patreon group. And if I failed to do that, which I have, a couple months back, I apologize. I really want to make that up. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want to clear things out, more for myself. I think it's more of a psychological thing. I want to verbally share it to the public and to the Patreon group so that it helps me create the content that I want to create moving forward. And it has been over a year since I've had the Patreon group, so I think I have a much better understanding of how to navigate the Patreon page. So from here on out, I plan on making market update videos that I would normally do on my Patreon group on my channel. And I think think this will be a lot better because I'll be able to upload much more frequently in smaller form contents. Usually when I do market update videos on my Patreon group, they're usually about 20 to 30 minutes long, and it's like me rushing through every indicator, every update, and it gets a little bit lengthy. But if I can chop it down into more bite-sized pieces, I can upload it onto my channel. It'll be a lot better. Now, what I would do on my Patreon group is share those things ahead of time. In other words, it'll be kind of like my script, but not really. I also share a lot of my real-time buys and my sells and my trades. And anytime there's a little thing that happens or like a news that pops up, those are things I would share on the page. Anytime there's a breakdown of a pattern and there's a price target that I'm looking out for, those are price targets that I would talk about. And those are things that I will end up talking about on my channel. It just might be a few hours or even a day later. It just wouldn't be real time. And so there is value in the whole real time aspect and how I'm navigating the markets on a regular day-to-day basis. And I wouldn't necessarily share everything that I share in the private group on my public channel. It's only the things that I want to share publicly. And when you have access to the Discord or the Patreon group, you can message me privately anytime, ask anything you need. But that is something that I did want to clear up and share. So for Patreon group members, if you are watching this, nothing's going to change. If anything, I'll try to be a lot more active with my posts. Things will be as usual. And for those that have followed me and watched this channel, thank you so much for your support, and expect a lot more technical analysis, market updates, and just more videos here and there, but just in shorter form contents. With that said, I'm going to go ahead into the market update. I know that was a long update on what's happening in my life, I guess, but let's go into the markets. So about 5 months ago, I created a video on why Bitcoin is going to be going lower around to the 14K range. That was during this time right over here. And then Bitcoin got a small little rally. And during this time, people were doubting that we were going to go back down to the 14K range. And even myself, I was like, maybe we're not. Maybe we've already bottomed out. But eventually we kind of went lower. I forget how much time it does take for these things to play out. And we haven't hit 14K. We've only hit around 15.5K. But I talked about this on my Patreon group, how on the futures chart, Bitcoin actually went all the way down to 14.9K. That's pretty interesting, right? I don't think the target has been exactly met, and I think that Bitcoin could go a little bit lower. What I shared in that video was a double top pattern measuring these two tops to the breakdown point. And so what happened was Bitcoin was consolidating in this channel, broke down, got a retest, and got rejected. And usually the price target would be from the top to the bottom of that channel to where it broke down. And that is where we got the 14K level. Now that does mean that Bitcoin could take some time to go down to that range, probably by January 2023, and resume higher. If you draw out another channel like this, connecting these 2 points over here, extend that out just like that, you can see that there have been levels of tests on the support right over here. And so the question is whether this level will hold as support or not. Maybe come down, get a bounce at this level over here and resume higher. The worst case would actually be if we break down from this channel right over here like that, and Bitcoin goes all the way down to the 8.6K range. And this is where we hear a lot of people predicting that price level. That would be approximately a 87% move to the downside, which is historically, how much Bitcoin does correct in a bear market. But I'm really hoping that that does not happen, because nobody wants that to happen. Now, just to give a little bit more optimistic perspective, right here, Bitcoin got a pi cycle top. That usually indicated historically that Bitcoin topped out. And the crazy thing was Bitcoin actually did make a higher high. Now, there was a possibility that during this pi cycle bottom, this was also a false signal like we got in the pi cycle top. So there was that possibility of another lower low, which is why I called for that 14K range. Although the pi cycle bottom has historically timed general bottoms, it is a possibility that it fails because it failed over here. So the lower low, we've made it. Maybe we might make another low before we bounce higher. Now, another reason why we could experience a short-term bounce, it's because Bitcoin has never experienced this much volume, especially on Coinbase's exchange. It beat the COVID crash. It beat the 2018 capitulation, even all the corrections over here, this crash over here, and even the Terra Luna crash over here. This crash had the most amount of volume. So that suggests that there is a potential bounce or reversal along the way. If you're wondering what levels I'm looking out for the bounce, I'm just going to do a Fibonacci retracement from this level over here. I'm expecting Bitcoin to at least bounce back up to the 618 to the 0.5, which is 41 to 47K. I know thinking about those levels seem unrealistic at the time of making this video because Bitcoin's at 16K. But I do expect some sort of retracement in the future. I don't know when. I can't predict that, but it's a matter of when, then what? No, sorry, when, not if, right? I think it's more of a matter of when versus if. Now, if we do dip all the way down to the 10K range, well, the 0.6 and the 0.5 is still around the 40 to 45K range. So a bounce up to that level is possible. Even if we aim lower to the 0.382, that's still like 32K Bitcoin, which is about a 2x from the current levels. Again, there is no guarantee. It's a matter of probability, and those retracements are more likely to happen than not. On a positive note, Bitcoin was creating this descending wedge, which is typically a bullish pattern. And unfortunately, as we were consolidating, we were breaking out. FTX news happened. We broke down. We are currently below the wedge right now, but is it possible that we could extend this out like that and Bitcoin could consolidate just a little longer before another breakout? That's another bullish case. And the reason is because if we look at the RSI on the 3-day chart, which is my favorite time frame, we have a beautiful bullish divergence forming on the 3-day time frame from a lower low on the price but a higher high on the RSI. Now, I did talk about this bullish divergence before when Bitcoin was doing this, right? Bitcoin's making a lower low, but on the RSI, it was a higher high. So that was looking really good. But right now, it looks like we need a little bit more time, and that's okay. If we actually measure out this RSI right over here, it does create a descending wedge, which is a bullish pattern. It did break out of it. It's currently getting a retest. I don't mind it entering back in, consolidating, and then breaking higher. But if this does hold as support and we do reverse from here, that's going to look good for Bitcoin short term. And this is good news because from October 2014 to January of 2015, so we're talking about 3 months around there, Bitcoin was in a bear market, made a lower low on the price, but a higher high on the RSI. Ever since then, Bitcoin consolidated sideways, got a reverse out of that bear market. Same thing happened in 2018 where the price made a lower low on the 3-day time frame, but a higher high on the RSI. Ooh, we got the trendline tool, higher high on the RSI. From there, we traded sideways for a little bit, got a reverse. Where did we get that reverse? Oh my goodness, look at that line. That retracement happened all the way back up to the, guess where? The 618. So the retracement was beautiful. Obviously, we did consolidate a little bit longer before we began our second bull run. And a similar thing is happening right now where we are getting a bullish divergence on the 3-day. It is taking a lot longer to play out, and that's probably because of the recession. But if this 3-day RSI does hold as support and we do stay in this range for the next 3 months, we're talking about until March of 2023, there is a higher likelihood that we will reverse from here, probably, and get a nice little summer rally in 2023. And the rally, I am hoping all the way back up to the 40K range, which would be fantastic for most of us. After we do get a retracement in 2023, so we're talking like mid to late 2023, most likely we'll consolidate for 3-4 months, and by the next halving, that is when I'm really hoping for the next bull run to take off. So it'll probably look something like this. So again, have a longer term perspective on the markets. Yes, it is super painful right now, but I've been accumulating. I bought a whole Bitcoin down at the 16.7K range, and I will continue to dollar cost average in, buy on a regular basis. If we go lower, honestly, if we go down to 10K, that will be very exciting. Why? Because I will get to accumulate 2 whole Bitcoins for the price of one when Bitcoin was at 20K. So that's a great deal, especially if you're holding long term. For those that think that crypto and Bitcoin is dead and it's never going to recover, I felt that same pain down over here. That's when I exited the markets, especially because I was new. But the more I learned about the fundamentals of Bitcoin, I realized that it's most likely going to be here to stay. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Again, really think for your own best interest. I hope that my decisions or everything that I share doesn't influence your decision. You should be also do your own research and due diligence before you make any sort of investment decisions. This is just my personal opinion, but I think Bitcoin at this stage of the market is too big for it to actually collapse, meaning there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of things that are revolving around Bitcoin for it to just completely go away one day. I don't think it will, especially because there are a lot of larger players surrounding Bitcoin. That is all the market update I'll be giving. I can give a ton more, but I'm going to break it down into smaller pieces. Hopefully that was, a little nice refresher. Maybe you already knew all of this, but my plan still remains the same. It's to dollar cost average in regularly. If we get a massive dip, then buy aggressively, and hopefully, just be patient and sell when the market goes back up. And again, accumulate cash. I think that's a really good one as well. And this is trueflation.com. I've been following this chart with my Patreon group since around May, and inflation technically has been going down, which has dictated a lot of my investing decisions. So hopefully, the US, the government has handled inflation by the next bull run, and they switch on the money printer, and that is when you will be rewarded for your consistency and your patience. Well, with that said, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Over. Good night, good morning, adios.